home run last month.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes, let's give that to Eames a little bit, friends.
Yeah, I don't have any sound in here.
Went to the host game the other night to watch Jordan over as my.
Oh, did you?
Friday night,
Yeah,
Tuesday or Friday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I wasn't too bad.
He asked, and he just couldn't straighten them out.
Wow.
We're all
So,
good.
but every single one of them.
Yeah, he was hitting doubles and RBIs, like he was.
Yeah, he batted, like I said. Yeah, pretty great.
We were out of town, otherwise we would have.
Yeah, baseball. Right, right. Already?
Yes.
All right, call to order a meeting of the Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission on Thursday, August 28th at 3 p.m. And two public hearings, the Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. Plan 25-20, major replat of lots 1 through 14, block 1, Chapman subdivision NUD, being a replat of lot 2R, block 1, state land survey on Mustang Island City, Port Aransas, Nueces County. Nueces County, Texas, according to the plat recorded in volume 56, page 152, map records of Nueces County, Texas, applicant Brandon Lafayette on behalf of FRP Holdings, Texas LLC, property location 103 12th Street. Citizen comments and reports. Doesn't look like we have anybody signed up. So we'll move on to items for consideration. Discuss and take action or pass on any of the following. Item 4.1. Discuss and take action to confirm that no dune permit plan 25-26 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. Proposed permit will allow the demolition of unpermitted structures. Applicant City of Port Aransas on behalf of Choke Canyon LLC, property location 2016 on the beach.
So this is the very first dune permit ever put together by myself.
Way to go.
You did a
So
great
this is-
job.
Yeah, this is just a no dune permit. I'm sure that you guys remember over the last couple of years, we've been battling with beach lodge. It came to our attention that they have built several unpermitted structures over the last decade, unbeknownst to us or anybody else. So we filed citations. They fought the citations. They applied for variances. We denied the variances. They took us to court. We took them to court. After a very long couple of years, including a very long day of mediation between David, myself, and them and their lawyers, we came to the agreement that they're gonna all come down. So they're gonna be demoed. In order to do that, even though they weren't built with the dune permit in place, we wanted to have a dune permit in place. It's pretty simple and there's no dunes in the location, so what you see there is just an example of that. We obviously didn't send it for review by a city engineer because no dune permit put together by us. Talked to the GLO, we're kind of all on the same page, so we're gonna take it to council next. On the 18th of September, looking for demo, probably the end of September, early October for those buildings. But we have to have this in place and go through the proper process. So city staff recommends approval for my dune permit.
Any questions or discussion? Pretty straightforward.
I reviewed the whole thing, looks
Yeah.
pretty straightforward to me as well.
Can I invite a motion?
I make a motion to approve the no dune permit plan 25-26.
Second. We have a motion from Stephen Wilson and a second from Richard Kay.
All right, Bill Streeter.
Aye.
Garrett Kicking,
Yes.
Stephen Wilson,
Yes.
Richard Kay,
Yes.
Mike Dan.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, item 4.2, discuss and take action on preliminary and final plat plan 25-20 for Chapman subdivision NUD. Applicant Brandon Lafayette on behalf of FRP Holdings, Texas LLC. Property location of 103 12th Street. And do we want to read in
Yeah.
the,
Can I discuss it? I think we're gonna probably go back and forth a lot between the dune permit and the plat, so I wanted him to read the second agenda item just so we could discuss both pretty clearly, and then afterwards we'll need a separate motion on the plat and a separate motion on the paper.
so with that said, we'll read in item 4.3, discuss and take action to confirm that dune permit plan 25-15 is consistent with the city's coastal management plan. The proposed permit will allow for the development of Chapman subdivision NUD. Applicant Brandon Lafayette on behalf of FRP Holdings, Texas LLC. Property location of 103 12th Street.
Okay, so you guys are all fairly familiar with how we've processed developments before. We took a different approach with this one, and I think this is probably the approach that we're gonna take moving forward. Because it has solved a lot of problems and made things a lot clearer. A little difficult on the back end, between staff, engineers and developers, but when it comes to you guys, it's a much clearer package. So prior to this, we would normally bring a plat forward to you guys for approval. There would, be some level of discussion on the drainage for that subdivision, depending on where it was in town. And we would always say, well, those civil plans come later, or that dune permit comes later. In this situation, we kind of took the opposite approach. We talked to the developer, we asked them to kind of put together that whole package ahead of time. So that we could have an approved set of civil plans when we bring the plat and the dune permit for your approval. So what you guys see in your packet now is accompanied behind the scenes by a full set of approved civil plans. So engineers have, reviewed the drainage on this. It's a full plan that works, so it's shovel ready. Once this plat goes through, they've also reviewed the plat, preliminary and the final plat. It meets all of the standards for our NUD, which is a little bit of a higher standard than NUDs were before 2021. They increased that lot size restriction. So I'll invite Mr. Lafayette and Mr. Hooper to come up and present their project.
Today.
Good.
State my name on this one.
Yep. and your address.
Lafayette, 502 12th Street. And, Kyle Hooper, Code Engineering. 71 Park, so, like Nicole said, we've got a piece of property, we figured out it could be developed as a NUD, so we followed those rules, as closely as we could. And, don't need any variances on this one. We also went ahead and did the work for the, civil work, the dune permits, try to create a package that everyone is, well, before it came to you guys, make sure it follows all the rules, set forth by the city in terms of drainage, scope, water department, gas department. So that when it came to y'all, it's not a if and or what if, and it's more of a, it's all here, guys. It's fairly straightforward.
We don't have to have very general conversations about drainage. If you guys want to, dive in and have those discussions, it can be on a pretty detailed level because we do have those plans all over.
Well, that definitely helps.
Did you do a drainage study of any kind? Or during the engineering process?
Mhm.
Can you describe that a little bit?
So first and foremost, we started with Army Corps of Engineers. I made sure they, delineated if there's wetlands or not. Once we got that stuff approved, came out and did a full-on topograph of the area. And then, you outline outside of our area, just to reflect more drainages from that, and then as well as some LiDAR information. That's public information out there.
Can I ask what the results of the delineation for the wetland?
It was non-jurisdictional.
I think that's the
And
one.
we have a letter,
Yeah.
we have a letter from the
It-
board
it-
detailing that. Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
That helps.
Thanks in terms of
Yes.
seeing them. Like,
Yeah,
Well, that was what we started with, and then we proceeded with topo and the process. Then in our study of drainage, we're trying to take into account traditional order ranges, proper city proper drainage, and some of the issues that have occurred over the 50 years or so of building out. And so, during our workup, during our studying that, we think we can make this possible to keep all required rain events, which is technically a 2-year rain event here. We did everything to a 100-year rain event, and even further than that, to, for this them to stay within the property boundaries.
And that's with the detention ponds on 2 of the lots.
Correct, yeah, so we added 2 ditch ponds, north pond, south pond. South, as well on this stuff. Those were over designed to, retain more than what's the requirements.
How deep are they?
They're roughly 4 to 4.5, almost. One of them is almost 5.5 feet, but But again, it's designed for 100 meters outflows on those ponds that will go back onto the private road, which is within that boundary. So once it exceeds the 100-year event, then it'll go into that, and then we designed the road to act kind of as a third detention basin.
Okay.
To where basically it would stay within the property boundaries, not go to 12, not go to 12, not go to property meters.
Did you have to change the curbs on the road in order to do that in any capacity?
We did, when originally submitting our plans to the civil with the city engineers, we worked with them. They had a little bit of a different interpretation, from that. So then there were a couple communications, went back and forth with them and, came up with a pretty good solution. And then we redesigned the kind of the road system, to curb and gutter it to make it, basically act as a third detention.
Okay. And the detention pond, what's the primary construction? Is it grass? Is it?
The state of vegetation and landscape wall. So we were able to do that. It gives the developer a couple options, for that. It also gives additional capacity than just obviously the minimum slope requirements on your pond is 2-to-1 for the soil types. We did a 3-to-1 slope. And then we used landscape wall to gain some extra, slope up. So it would be natural vegetation.
Where's the landscape wall gonna go?
So mainly on the, as you don't maybe
The
do
south
it would
side.
be the south pond, is basically we added a landscape wall to the plan south to make sure the neighbor to the south, is sure that that's the highest point, nothing can go into his property.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
I'm sure he's, yeah.
Not appreciative of any of this, to be honest.
And so anyways, we have that, on our property on that side of it. To make the slope work on the south detention pond, I also added it, going kind of east and west, around the other two sides of that pond, just to make sure it works really well in construction.
Is there any way we could bring up the image of the?
I mean, do you have anything, any way to mitigate if we have a rain event, silt doesn't come into these ponds and, thus reduce the capacity that they can hold over time?
Yeah, so again, the ponds are again designed over capacity, than what, 100-year event would require. And then on top of that, especially that south pond with you having a landscape wall, there's proper code that would come during the building development, permitting part of that, where the developer has options on a whole bunch of various ways you can design that, but basic code of that is silt protection on that wall and the proper backfilling and everything like that. And then the other side, you just have one slope of vegetation, from a street, so I don't anticipate that being an issue.
Now, are you asking from the actual preliminary plat, or you want?
Yeah, preliminary, it's a little bit easier to understand. It looks like you're gonna have to bring in a good amount of fill. Is that the case?
There's a chunk that we'll need, but there's also a high point that will get leveled out as well,
So the
to account for the grading that's needed.
And am I correct in assuming that the north pond through that, I guess, through or underneath the street and some pipes will feed the south pond?
No,
They're totally separate.
totally separate ponds obtained to hold their own volumes still into the street. That the piping you see, you have to get to the civil plans to see the detailings of it, is actually for inlet within the street to feed back towards the pond.
Okay.
Just so that way, once it's an event way over the 100-year event, if that were to outfall onto the private road, it could eventually then drain from the road back towards the ponds
Okay.
with proper infiltration and evaporation.
And that's what, yeah, 'cause that was.
Yeah, this way we found that it held more and had less issues by separating.
Well, yeah, that way you're not feeding all of that south pond.
Exactly.
What's the 800 feet of 6-inch pipe, trying to figure out what's that on the south one?
I'm not,
Like this portion.
Is that just like a diffusion area, like with riprap or? You had mentioned a landscape wall. Is it just a solid wall or is it, rocks piled up or?
That's actually been updated.
So this is the original preliminary plat. We do have a version of the civil plans that typically don't come to you guys. But our city engineer reviewed the civil plans in lieu of the preliminary plat. Civil
So-
plans are much more detailed and have a lot more.
The short answer is there is no riprap, there is no.
That does not exist
It
there.
does not,
Okay.
in the final civil that had been approved.
Yeah.
Within the
I can
confines
pull that
of
up.
each pond
Correct.
Okay.
There is.
or the road.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So the road is spillover for the south and the north pond.
Yes.
So you have a pond on the north, pond on the south. That once they come way past the 100-year event, they'll spill over weirs, to control the outflow of the ponds back onto that private road. That private road is then designed and grading to basically retain another volume, right? It's way over what's even required. I'll say it this way, it's basically Port A will be 5 feet underwater, type of a thing.
Yeah.
So then,
Which we've seen.
yeah.
Fortunately.
Yeah, you just, you can't. So, anyways, then it goes from there into back into the ponds through evaporation, and infiltration as it goes over time. In other words, it can't affect anybody, the property to the north or property to the
So it
south.
doesn't drain back to the street or
No.
to the public street.
There's a portion that is allowed to drain back to
Yeah.
the street, and that's just in the very front
Yes,
section.
yeah.
I noticed on the east side of the property, the beach side, where I guess the three beachfront lots are supposed to be located. Just in front of that, west of those, looked like there was a low-lying area on the contours about 6-7 feet. Is that gonna be the case with the civil plans? Cause it just looked like water would feed from those 3 lots down into that. You couldn't get it up to the ponds.
That's been adjusted for the.
Yeah, it's already been reflected.
Yeah,
So,
Right, most updated,
Right.
so.
Oh,
So that,
so those back 3 lots, Mike, are graded to a finished elevation of around 9 to 9.2. MSL. So that's no longer.
It'll be continuous grade that slopes to the street, where the street can capture it and take it into.
so the drainage there, I see, looks like it's mostly headed towards the south pond,
Am I looking on here? Kyle?
based upon the
Uh,
arrows.
That,
Right here.
Oh, so it's running, so you're running into the street, okay.
everything close to the
Yeah.
street.
So that's different okay.
Yeah.
And you can see your south pond there on that big view. You can see the 3 landscape walls. That one lot.
Do you still have a 103-foot landscape wall on the north side of the property in plans?
Nicole, if you'll slide up a little bit, there's actually, 2 those landscape walls. So you'll see, can I come around?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So you'll see here that we have utilized from already pre-planned this proposed landscape wall, right here and right here, are actually already been approved through council and everything from the previous developer. So we iterated that with our grading plan, right, naturally. And so we wanted to honor that, so we put that in there. So the only new, for this guy, proposed landscape wall will be from about here to here, road, just because we want to ensure that the drainage is going this way. So we bring that drainage back to our property.
You're putting in the wall for them, is what you're doing.
Well, we're putting in this wall.
Yeah.
For them, and. Not for them, on our property, right? Just worked out.
Yeah.
Most of the other two wells, they do not exist. So they
So
were
once this approval goes through, the city's gonna take that up
Okay.
with the,
the other developer,
Correct.
the adjacent
I
property.
mean, you can't say I'm gonna do this and get on to get your approvals and then
not do it.
not do it, so we can't do that either, right? So.
It'll be addressed.
I don't know, that's like.
What would it take for a gathering of water to occur between the 2 ponds on the road? That 100+ year event, is that what you're saying? Because
Way more than 100.
both of those detention ponds drain through the road, and then they're supposed to go back into the ponds.
Then,
Are there any culverts or anything along those lines?
yes, right here is our inlet protection that will go back towards the pond.
Okay.
Right, So, so we essentially extrapolate to around a 500-year event, if not a little bit more than that. I say it that way because we had to go and get research information from TxDOT and from NOAA to come up with that high, those extreme rain event intensities. So, you know, we gathered, we did have a good event, but there's a mix in the data. To be fair, you just can't really extremely say it's a 500-year event. Hardy, some of the stuff says it was a 500-year event, some of the stuff says it was a 5,000-year event. So, you know,
Understand. Will there be any type of retainage between the lots? Like specifically the lots here on the west of those detention ponds there? Is that the lots are gonna contour downward towards the detention pond, is that right? With the highest being
correct.
furthest to the west?
So if you'll go,
In the design, there was already a certain amount allowed to the street.
Mhm.
And so by code, we were allowed to allow that much back to the street, just no more.
And when you say
We
street,
didn't
you're
even-
talking Avenue B.
Avenue B/12, I don't know what that intersection is.
to be fair, we
To
did
the
even
main
use a third of that. So we even still further, we wanted to be ultra conservative and reduce that as well.
But so all that said, the front section won't have retaining walls, they will naturally grade, where you see the arrows back to B12, what have you.
It's just a cul-de-sac right there.
Correct.
Correct, and when that cul-de-sac was put in, that drainage was handled as well for
Okay.
that development.
Sure, and these plans, they show, you know, proposed elevations, curvatures and all the gradients that y'all are gonna create during the development stage, right? Whenever it comes to actually building houses out there, you know, we all know that you have to drain towards the street in many cases.
In this kind of
So-
situation, it would be their house plans would reflect this same drainage pattern.
So if you go down and let's say that where the old house is there on the far left, then you go to whatever lot 2 is going to be allowed to drain onto lot 3. Is that correct?
And on the backside, if you look, I believe
There's a
there's.
drainage
a
easement
drainage
along the
easement.
back, so
So yes,
It's-
short
it's-
answer is yes.
We applied on the north side of the drainage, and we're taking advantage of the existing or what's supposed to be the existing northern subdivision,
So-
grid plans.
So the contour of what you're showing here is gonna be the contour of what your houses are sitting on, right?
Yes.
So
but then any drainage taken to their private street there too will go down to that those retention ponds.
right, I guess what I was saying is like after the houses get built, isn't that going to increase the water flow to that, or was to that pond, or was that
It was,
calculated whenever you were doing?
it would
the
still be
drainage?
designed to probably, let's just say, split it in half. So half of it would go to the front, to the street, take it down.
Right.
The other half would go to the back, to the drainage easement, take it down,
Take it down.
and they're both headed.
So your calculations reflect a developed neighborhood, not,
Correct.
Applied
Remember,
it.
we did an ultra conservative design on drainage for this, right? So the values and intensities we're doing and we're using are way over your normal
Right.
subdivision, which or is different than even the requirements in other jurisdictions, right? That are a little bit more antsy about that when it comes to the building, which you're used to. And hence why we made it allowable to that first lot, when it's regrade, moved over there. It will drain as only really the only other section that's gonna drain towards the potentially to the 12th. The rest all goes via the drainage easement back to the north pond.
But I think the short answer to your question is they took this into account as developed lot. They were
Correct.
calculating drainage,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
undeveloped.
yeah,
But drainage, you're showing you going lot to lot.
No,
Into the
To
drainage
the, into
easement.
the drainage easement that's in the rear back
Yeah,
here. This
yeah,
back here is a 10-foot drainage easement.
So within that drainage easement on the north side, is that just gonna be a swale or is it gonna be a?
it is. And if, Nicole, if you scroll down to,
So when you build a house, you have to present drainage plan, if you will. So that will be reflected
Yeah,
at
so,
that time.
so if lot 2 or lot 3 had a drainage plan coming to us, we would want to see half of that drainage going back to that drainage easement, half of that drainage coming back to the street.
Right.
To reflect this drainage plan. for the-
Not waiting to the same place.
The unified code requires it to be done that way because otherwise. We'd have to go in and say, you have to know every single. Impervious section and their grading plan to each individual house and then look at the size and all that. Which unless it's not a master plan committee, there's just no way to obtain that. But that's why we were being very proactive, so if you'll, for this matter, and, you know, I'm sorry, I'm coming up over here, apologize. Nicole, if you'll see here, okay, so it's kind of hard for y'all to see, but basically this is our highest point right here, about 12 slopes, so we can ensure that this is not going this way, it's going that way. And then in the lot, it progressed, the contours look like this, that's naturally what your contours look, but it goes from 12, 11, 10, all the way back to this one spot here, which is the spot where we're gonna send everything going down here to our drainage easement. So in theory, your lots, if your house is here or whatever, that has going that way, your drainage, when you cut your road or your driveway, whatever that is, can go to the road. If you'll go back to the previous swap map, it's easy to see. And this is kind of a part of the dune, we can talk about the dune permit, like, right, because it was.
Sure.
So basically what we did, to anticipate this, is the same thing on drainage. We went ultra conservative, so that way these 5 lots, for example, we took any critical dunes from this area all the way through our buildable area. We mitigated the whole entire thing from very beginning. So we kept all that volume, so we can then put it in here, our mitigation dune, keep it on site and blend it into those contours to ensure. Even in that case, that a builder wouldn't have to come back later and do the dune permitting process through that and could have potentially affect through their dune our intended drainage.
Sure, yeah, and that's even in the correspondence with the representative GLO.
Correct. We
Writing.
reached back out to the GLO when we came through after the civil comments with the civil engineer, we came up, reviewing engineer, we came back with them. We then brought it back to the GLO and said, hey, this is a scenario that's going on. We changed the drainage features a little bit, did change the mitigations or the impacts.
Yeah.
But we did increase a little bit more build back in this area to fix this. Doesn't, we don't believe it affects nothing, this, and then they in that meeting also concurred with that, and we should have a.
That's in the packet.
Response to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, the intentionality was to be proactive when somebody, a separate builder comes and buys the lot, builds it, his version of whatever he wants to do. For that, we did not want any drainage issues if it was piecemeal out.
Sure. Well, it makes sense to do it concurrently with the project because it can all change.
Well, and it saves the developers and the individual builders and individual homeowners, lots, it saves them a lot of time and resources as well. But it also protects us with the idea of we're trying to be ultra conservative in this design. When it comes to drainage.
Where is the GLO property boundary? Section tool.
Right at the end, so that all the way
The
to the right.
GLOs, this is actually our property, GLO is this way.
So what is the existing, all the dune mitigation is gonna go right up front of our property?
Well, the
Yeah.
each side, yeah.
And it would have to be back towards on your property, unless you have to go offsite mitigation, which we chose not to.
And that's gonna raise that elevation.
We could bring that up in a due permit.
Yeah, those will show better on the June permit too.
And that also lends into another drainage question.
Yeah,
So those are-
when the water comes in, it's gonna go around that.
Yeah, it looks like they're up to 14 feet. There are some of the natural grade, which looked like it was taking it to the southeast, away from the property on the south. So I think
Something's off on those, mapping there, so property line goes right through my bedroom.
Well, it's not theirs, that's just the aerials. Anytime you use aerials from Google Earth or from Pictometry, which is the NCAD, it skews it a little bit. It's just not it's not a you're trying to overlay a 2D image on a 3D picture, and it's not, it does this to us everywhere. What's the best
If
page?
that's the case, say come to.
So, question is compared to the existing, dune elevations in that area where mitigation is going to occur, what would be the delta in the elevation change before and after? If that's for all your mitigation.
Of the mitigation, the highest part of our dam mitigation is, over 14-foot contour, right? And then it blends down to, on the plan north, we're around 12 to 11 foot in this area.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All the geo, so, I'm putting fingerprints on anything, which I don't need to do.
And then compared to the current elevations in place, how much more are you raising that elevation?
Aren't you about 9 feet over there right now?
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to say. So the data that we have on there from existing contours, there's a few spots of those existing contours 11 feet. So 14 feet of our max, I mean, we're only raised to 3 feet, right? But, actually in the beach management plan, there is not that was actually my original question to the GLO. There is not a height restriction when it comes to that, as long as we can still link it in.
My concern is necessarily the height. My concern is building a huge mounds of water is gonna go around south, in my yard. Water does not. You're mitigating by creating a huge dune effect on property. It's going to make my property south of that area. See.
Right, so, yes, down that swale. It's where.
Tell me if you want a different page.
What is it, what is this?
That's
Page 54?
Says 54?
It's 6.
That one works, see.
So we're looking at it, so it looks like the tallest mound, if you will, is 15. That's a very small section on the contours. And it's on the southern end of the mitigation area, and it looks like if things on the southern side of it are lower, that would be flowing towards the residents. But we did notice that there's that contour line that's, 6 feet, 7 feet kicking off to the southeast. I think the concern is that we want to make sure that you've got it contoured to where the water's not running due south, and that it's running more southeast away from that residence. So this, he's got it pulled up towards here.
Here's the other one. Here's the other one. So this shows you that height, 56. So it's the contours, it should be.
Page 56.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
problem is we don't see the contours, so we don't see what they are to the south of the development.
Correct. So. Well, yeah, this was the correct one.
This
Go
is the
down.
existing.
54.
But this, sorry,
You want 56?
please hold on.
Okay. So here's Mount Lafayette right here. Right, and this is coming down this way. We just want to make sure that this water isn't going there. You got a 7-foot contour down there.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to go back to the civil plans. That's what that shows on the civil drainage plans.
Okay,
Where
we don't
the-
have those that are packed.
Hang on, I got it. I can pull them up there.
Where the city engineer, we went through this with the city engineer for that. Or the reviewing engineer, actual city. To show that.
So this is the silver.
No, man, he's showing that. Right here. So
Let me
this
get a
will
little
be
bit.
finished elevation of the bank. Or finished grading drainage. So we have this all going
So you do
here
have,
and down this way back towards our road again.
and you have the southeast kicker.
Well, that's from the peak going back towards the road.
Have you, if it doesn't look like, you
Yeah.
know, the drainage is going towards the southeast away from the neighboring property, have you considered putting a small landscape wall on that side as well?
Well, you can't, yeah,
We do
Yeah.
not want to do that
not,
to put it within the mitigation of the thing, but also, I mean, if you came in here and added up all that square footage and applied the densities of that, we're talking
remember, it's not,
negligible.
it's not the drainage from the development that's going there, so this is just drainage that falls on the dune.
And my concern is drainage falls on the dune, it's when we have a storm. And the dune wall along the beach gets breached, and water's coming over, going west. Water's gonna go around that, it's the highest point, they built a dam in front of their property. And water's gonna go around both sides to the neighboring properties.
I just think if we have an event to that magnitude, there's feeling everything.
We're back to a 100+ year
And
scenario.
In that scenario, there is significant cuts here, so if he felt like what he's worried about, it would come here to their property into their drainage plan.
So you're talking about a 5,000-year event.
You're
No,
talking
I'm
about a
talking like-
hurricane coming
I'm
through.
talking about like, so it
And
looks
the
like
storm
basically
surge coming up.
his concern would be mitigating because there's a low spot in y'all's mitigation
Between the dunes.
between the dunes where, so it would flow through there into your development and then into your drainage plan. Instead
any
of going
water coming
around.
from the sea is not going to go into their property. Around it.
And that's partly because the city requires us to build up. And what we originally used to have to do. Before we could build it 6, 7, 8 feet, now we're required to be at, I mean, our zoning now is AE 11. So things are required now to build up, so any development in, whether it's, shoot, if I develop a piece of property right over here, I have to build it up. Whatever was coming on my property is now going around it, so. Either way, I mean,
This is dune mitigation, so you're taking down critical dune areas, piling up in front. of
You're
the property.
strengthening the
You're
existing
diving-
dunes.
you're diving- I know what that says, but you're also diverting any water around your property.
I mean, you're talking about a whole ocean coming towards you, that, I can't imagine that extra footage of dune is going to do any more damage than that ocean is going to do.
When water flows around something and it increases the velocity. And so it's flowing around that dune mitigation because that's where they chose to put the sand that they mitigated from the critical dune area. It's going to have a higher velocity in the neighboring properties.
I guess with these dune permits, you are allowed to use off-site locations as well to mitigate. but
The
you don't-
requirement is on-site, the requirement is on-site seaward.
On-site seaward.
If you can't get it on-site seaward,
Then-
then you
then
can
you
go
can
to
go
off-site.
So,
and it has to be done close to the proximity.
so you're essentially following
Their fault, yeah, it
what the
looks like,
powers that
yeah.
be are telling you to do
Yes,
Yeah.
with the GLO.
we contacted them and said, what do we need to do?
And we do have that in
And
writing. and
we
documented.
had a couple conversations, we had a couple of phone calls to make sure like what we were doing was following the correct protocol.
And it's been reviewed.
I think whenever I'm flipping the pages, it takes me twice as long. The engineer. so. We have confirmed that you've addressed, and I guess we just got the letter today
Oh, yeah.
from
Yeah.
Urban.
So. Building, and so if there's a contour,
That's
another contour map that shows the elevations in front of your house, and it looks like the dunes in front of your house is at least 8 feet. So their lowest goes to 7 foot there, which would mean it would still flow back into their property. Versus, see, that's just. goes 9 to 8, and then they're gonna have that cut right there, so it'll flow back into theirs versus you'll still be higher than their elevation.
They're doing mitigation across the front of that.
Yeah,
And
but,
it'll
but
have,
based on their new map, they have a low point of 7 that cuts in. Am I mistaken there?
and the water.
But it can't because you have a high point there that's gonna flow. That's what I'm,
You'll see.
Yes, but the point is when we do see it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are gonna. see
Every,
it.
I mean, the whole, if that level of breach happens, it's, you've got a total town devastation.
So it'd be at least a 10 to 15 foot storm surge.
When Harvey was just under 4,
The other direction.
correct?
Yeah.
Problematic for me.
I guess I did want to point out that we did get the final comments from Urban.
On the plat,
On
so
the
there was
plat.
2 outstanding issues on the plat. One was a chord arc mark, I think C3, and the other 2 were some language that was added. All of those were added, and I asked Urban for a final letter saying that everything was okay, and they marked everything was okay.
Back to drainage, just out of curiosity, once the water hits the drainage easement, does it travel on top of the ground? To the sheet was, let's say.
Any requirements of maintenance, so, pension bonds, I saw it, there's all that. Some establishments that have wires retention bonds, also have to have maintenance. Place for that.
So there's not a requirement from the city, for a maintenance plan, but this is the approved plan. If anything was ever not to this plan in the future, we could require them to go back and do that.
They're required, yeah, on that, so.
It would be this set of plans. I mean, we could,
So if it's set at 7 and it all of a sudden goes to 8, be it silt, be it whatever flooding, then the city could come in and say, hey, you dig that out.
Yeah.
And we gotta dig it out.
we haven't ever seen that issue with other ponds that we have, but we could hold them to this approved plan in perpetuity.
Any additional discussion on dune permit, guys?
Thought it was
Or the
a very
plat.
thorough package,
Mhm.
one of our better reasons.
The detail really helps.
getting the back and forth, the GLO, all that done before was
Yes,
checked all the boxes.
for sure. Wish they all looked like shit.
Hopefully, moving forward, they all will.
Yeah.
We've done this a couple times, so I know people are concerned about certain things, so it's like, let's just knock it all out before we even submit, so that there aren't any what ifs or what then, or what have you, just.
We
Well, there'll always
will-
be some, but
We've had a-
there'll be far fewer, right?
Agreed.
Far fewer. At least the people with the stamps have told you that it's okay.
Yes.
Anyone have any other questions?
I invite, two motions, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary and final plat, 25-20 for Chapman subdivision. Can we do both at the same time or can we do them separately?
Have to
Both,
do it separately, right?
we need the plat separate from the,
Okay,
That's
so
different.
that was the plan.
So that was the plan.
Maybe I'll second that.
We got it. Okay, so we have a motion, from Stephen Wilson, and a second from Richard Kay.
Stephen Wilson,
Yes,
Richard Kay,
Yes,
Bill Struber.
No.
Eric Kipke
Yes.
and Mike Zayan.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I invite a motion on the dune permit.
same. Make a motion to approve dune permit 25-15 for Chapman subdivision.
I'll second again.
Motion from Stephen Wilson and a second from Richard Kay.
Okay, Eric Kipke,
Yes.
Richard Kay,
Yes.
Bill Struber.
No.
Stephen Wilson
Yes.
and Mike Dayon.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, item 5, planning and zoning commission comments and items for future consideration.
Here, 2 out of 3 readings of our sign ordinance.
Okay.
Very minor changes made so far. I thank you guys for doing such a wonderful job.
Thank you for doing a great job.
Still on target for a January implementation.
We wrote that into it.
Yep.
So it's a January implementation next week. Code enforcement and I will be driving around town and marking down everybody that's got kind of signs that need to come into compliance and sending
Better
out those.
flags or flat, better signs.
Lots of different signs, but, I mean, just when you don't have enforcement for that long, people put up signs everywhere that they're not allowed to have. So we're gonna let them know by about mid-October, hopefully have everybody notified that you have to come into compliance by January 1. My guess is we'll get a lot of bang calls after that.
Where did we land on signs on fences?
Signs on fences allowed as you would be allowed to have a sign for whatever you are. If you're a resident and you're allowed to have your little 5 square foot sign, you're allowed to have that on your fence rather than in the yard.
The
Same as
right square
the
footage.
business.
that can-
My favorite thing ever was the one sign that we were really discussing, which is Billy Gaston sign at Woody's Last Stand.
Mhm.
And we were going for the second reading and I wanted to meet with him prior to the second reading. So the second reading was gonna be on Wednesday, the 20th. Well, on the 18th, 2 days before, he walks into my office and he said, "Hey, I need to get a sign permit." This is the best timing of my life. Okay, what's your plan with your fence? He goes, "I'm gonna take the fence down." Oh, this is perfect.
Oh,
So he's taking the fence down completely. That was gonna be our only kind of pickup. With, do we grandfather him, do we not
Mhm.
grandfather him? And he's solved that.
Well, that's great.
He saw the writing on the fence.
No, I don't, he knew nothing about it.
Ah.
Zero about it. I mean, it was just like the most perfect.
Well,
The first time in probably all of our interactions over the last decade that he's made my life a little easier.
So just because this is in regard to temporary sign.
It's in regards to all signs. The only thing that really changed were the temporary sign requirements.
Okay,
So, for sale signs, construction signs, those kind of signs, those kind of allowances shifted a little. But not much.
size changes.
Mhm.
Right. I got a sign now.
Yeah, the biggest change,
Your citation will be in-
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
you know, to everybody that's got signs up there, you'll get a letter saying, hey, this sign may or may not comply. The biggest change for the temporary signs is they require an authorization, so something very similar to a very simple permit, like this is the lot I have, this is the sign size I have, through our permitting system.
You gonna come by the office and check out my sign sometime?
Is it over back behind Whataburger?
Right next door.
Yeah, that's, but is it a temporary sign or you guys have kind of a permanent sign?
No, I went. I had over sign.
Yeah, I think that you guys are fine.
It's not a big sign.
Yeah, that's one that I've seen before. Your commercial location, so you get 40 square feet. It's definitely not that. I think you guys are fine back there. But yeah, it's one that we'll take a look at.
Oh,
Anything further, Matt?
No.
All right, we'll adjourn the meeting of the Port Aransas Planning and Zoning Commission on August 28th at 3:48.
Fair enough. Thank you guys.
Oh, Mr. Rose won.
Oh, life's good.
Walker Hubbard.
That's it. Not going back to work.
Oh, no.
I did. Really? I just got an update on
This ahead?
Orchard let them score, so up here. My wife is using some rather